And we came from there. We came here as a overseas student, and we came here with a normal path. Okay, we have a career and have a life, have a backing up and things like that. Okay, have a basis to build up upon. Dr. Limeng Yan pretty much just gave up all this simply for the matter of truth. She just ran out to the U.S. and then ran to us, and because of her how to say reveal the truth, she has already been banned by the Twitters.
Right, and also, as she probably can explain to us later, is that she is being threatened by the CCP agents.
Yeah, and she has been the leading actually author and the scientist on the COVID-19 the virus, and she published her academic papers in the Nature magazine and all the other leading medical magazines. She's a very well respected virologist, and again, a courageous voice that we can still have the fortune to hear from today. So we are very honored to have Dr. Limeng Yan with us tonight, and I think you think so too. Okay, Dr. Yan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Wei. Hi, Kathy. Happy New Year. Thank you for having me. And I hope we can have a nice conversation at the last day of this year to give our audience.
Yes, I think our audience are, feel privileged to have you on our show at this special day. Unfortunately, this year's highlight is by the pandemic. But I think, probably the information you bring to our audience, could just have shed some lights on the mystery of this virus, and also, shed some lights on what's, going on and what we look forward to. So,
and also besides the show, also just share with you, Dr. Limeng Yan has been actually traveling around, okay, and give lectures to the medical community and really to the public, okay, in many different cities. And Kathy went there over there.
Right, Kansas City. Yeah, that's Kansas City in November. And maybe first of all, we just share a couple of clips from that event. Let's see clip number 1.
Okay, let me ask you some question. How many of you think the virus SARS-CoV-2 comes from nature? I see no one raise your hand. How many of you have been frustrated, upset during this whole pandemic? Oh, I see all of you get involved, right? And if I tell you that this virus comes from China, and which I will explain to you all the things, and if you later tell people and they tell you it's anti-Asian, what will you do? Let me tell you, just tell them Chinese virologists tell me that's from China. So I'm not anti-Asia, I'm just telling the truth.
Okay, so in terms of the origin of the virus, so far, there is, just from government point of view, there's no set viewpoint of where it came from. However, Dr. Limeng Yan has her research and her opinion. Let's take a listen.
And this is their biowarfare, unrestricted biowarfare to target America and all the other countries. And if you don't wake up, it's already urgent, then you will lose your opportunities. Remember what China have done to Hong Kong in 2019.
Okay, so yeah, we heard Dr. Yan, and so let's maybe jump into the topic of where this virus really came from. And the most recent news is that the U.S. Commerce Department recently added China's Academy of Military Medical Science, abbreviated as AMMS, and 11 of its affiliated research institutes to the entity list that prohibited exports re-exports and the in-country transfers of American technology subject to the export administration regulation to those institutions without a government license. So this type of sanction, to why this sanction was posed to the China's Academy of Military Medical Sciences and its research institutes. Does that tell something? So, Dr. Yan, so what's your take on that?
So that is a very good progress. It shows that American government has already realized that the Chinese Academy of Military Medical Sciences and its affiliations poses great danger to the national security of America. And that is what we want people to know, because all these institutes full of the military scientists, and they are the main part of the Chinese Communist Party's military civil fusion projects. And also, why COVID-19 come out? And when we come to this question, actually, based on all the evidence I have, and my team has done a lot of investigation, and all the things actually you can verify by yourself through the circumstantial evidence that AMMS actually was dominant into the development of COVID-19 and also the leasing of COVID-19. And because they hide behind the civilian scientists, they hide behind the civilian laboratories like Wuhan Institute of Virology, and also because they spread scientific misinformation combined with the Chinese government's propaganda. So difficult for people to realize what happened. And that gives more opportunities to take the advantage in this unrestricted biowarfare. And it's already 2 years. People need to get the answer. They need to end these bio attacks, end this pandemic, and end the future risk. So I believe this is a very good progress from American government. However, that is just the beginning. We need to keep fighting to let people know how the military combine with the civilian network to conduct these unrestricted tactics. And if you only sanction the military science academy, they will change the cover. They will move into civilian laboratories and keep working on the bioweapons. So we have to fully review their strategies and their structures and let them all be held accountable.
So you mentioned that this military-civilian fusion strategy and its structure. According to your knowledge, your team's research, what this structure looks like?
So this is a very massive network, and it took Chinese government decades to develop the whole network. For example, they have sent the scientists when they were young to America and the other countries. So these scientists get along very well with the local scientists, and they fully understand how the principles in the local academic field. And then they bring this knowledge back to China, and they manage to infiltrate and manipulate into this scientific field, and also bring the local scientists back to China to let China have a chance to establish this kind of international academic network. So that's why when you say the pandemic happened, there are so many, the leading international scientists, they stand out and helping China. And they are spreading the misinformation that virus come from nature according to Chinese government's opinions. And also you would say that Chinese military scientists has no boundary between the civilian scientists. So that's why they can change into the civilian positions and then stay in the civilian laboratories and then go into the international organizations like, for example, WHO or Food Agriculture Organization. So all these things make them easily to conduct these tactics among the scientists. And people won't realize actually they are conducting the demand from the request on behalf of the People's Liberation Army. All these things actually make them very hidden, and it's very difficult to realize what they are doing unless you fully understand the structure. It's very flexible. It's very sophisticated. The names always change. They have so many identities or titles, and so that's why it's difficult for the other intelligence department people in the other countries even to realize what happened.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this question, Dr. Yan. So basically, let me understand it, okay? Civilian people, civilian scientists go to the front, assuming civilian titles and doing civilian activities, but then they bring all the knowledge and the exchange and technology to the military behind it. What is on the mind of the military? What's the purpose of the military that is sitting behind those civilian side?
Not only civilian scientists on the front line. I mean, the military scientists, because they will get a lot of censor if they, the background checking, if they are using the PLA's title to go to certain labs. For example, NIH, the national laboratories, or other national labs. However, they can quickly change into the civilian titles. So that means at the same time, they have double titles.
Entities.
One is hidden military title. The other is the civilian title that was known by the American scientists. And they went there so they can try to get the technology, information, and also they make the network. So they through the corruption, and then also they through some kind of delivery of the grant, which sounds very legal because American scientists, for example, when they get some scientific grants from China, at that time it looks very good. I mean, it is like the scientific collaboration. So they are happy to do that. And the student exchanged between the teams in China and also the labs in America. So using this way, they are like the rats. They stealing the things from America back to China. And also they get American taxpayers' money from like NIH grant and to go back to China to do their study. So all those gain of function technology are not allowed to be, for example, further developed in America. They can do it back to China.
Yeah, I think that reminds you some material you sent to me prior to our show. A professor in a Nanjing University, which is a prestigious university in China, and his name is Yang Xing, Mr. Yang. His title is the professor, military affair professor in Nanjing University, but another picture shows him actually was a colonel.
Yes. Exactly. So there are so many such people. For example, Yang Xing, you mentioned, he looks like a professor in a civilian university to teach some military theory. However, there were also other photos show that he's wearing in the People's Liberation Army's uniform, and he's at least a colonel at that time. And he actually worked in that civilian university for decades. And his class actually is the class that all the students need to take. It's a very important course. And the topic of his course is to talk about the theory of the modern military strategies, especially the novel, unrestricted biowarfares. And we can see that this is a very typical example to show how Chinese Communist Party try to push all this kind of military education based on Marxism and communism ideology to all the common students. And later on, they want to select the excellent students among these kids to be the next generation of the military scientists.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just so you know that for our viewers, okay, when Dr. Yan said PLA means the People's Republic,
People's Liberation
Army, People's Liberation Army. Just AKA just military, Chinese CCP's military. And Dr. Yan, you mentioned about unrestricted biowarfare. What do you mean by that? Unrestricted, what does that mean?
So that is what I defined the first time in the second Yan report, which published last October. In that report, I told people that because the SARS-CoV-2 virus is weaponized, so we need to look into the definition. However, when you see the traditional definition of bioweapon, you will see that the cunning thing is Chinese Communist Party actually has get rid of the standard definition. According to the Convention of Bioweapon in Geneva, the traditional bioweapon is used in the wartime and target military, and also it would cause the large scale of the damage, the injury, and the death immediately. However, look back into the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It happened at a peaceful time. It targeted both military and ordinary people, no difference. And also, it didn't cause the high death rate. Instead, it's a low death rate. And also, people won't die immediately like you see after the nuclear bomb. This is how Chinese government spent over decades to find the unrestricted part. It means they won't use the new techniques to develop, to weaponize the virus. And they use the strategies without any limitation, restriction, and without any consideration of humanity. So that's why they use the cunning way to get avoid of the definition, and also they won't cover it like the nature occurring virus. Very important part is this type of the novel weaponized virus look like from nature. And also they understand that once there are some scientists who reviewed it to reveal that this is not from nature based on the genetic analysis, which as I have done before, then they can use the misinformation and the denial to confuse people. That is called possible deniability. And that's also what you have seen from the beginning of the outbreak until now, conducted by the Chinese Communist Party.
Wow. So okay. On top of our viewers' mind, okay. In the beginning, Louis, you asked this question. So in your opinion, was the COVID-19 virus, was this an accident or done deliberately? So Dr. Yan, what's your answer to that question?
Oh, I always tell people that this is first, it's intentionally get out of the lab. So it is not the lab accident happened inside the biosafety level 3 or 4 laboratories. And the outbreak later on happened in Wuhan actually is because those ignorant military scientists, they actually underestimate the high transmissibility of SARS-CoV-2. So that's why during the neighborhood trial, the trial in the neighborhood using human, it got out of control. So basically, this is intentionally, they want to do something. However, they didn't really want the outbreak happen in Wuhan. But once it happened, the thing is, Chinese government decide to cover it up, and finally, they release it all over the world using the innocent Wuhan people who get infected.
Okay.
So yeah, actually, Louis has another question. Could you confirm the genetic code of COVID was manipulated in a lab?
Yes, I can, and that was presented in the first Yan report, which was published last September. And I know it is difficult for people who's kind of layman or even not in the virology field to understand. However, I can tell you some tips. The first thing is I and my team, we selected the smoking gun evidence, not the evidence which has an argue space. So if you check those evidence, and you will see the citations behind the evidence, behind our analysis. And you can look back into those reference articles, which listed over 100 reference articles. And it shows that when we get such conclusion, we link to the original article that who has done this, who has such technology, whose marker is presented by themselves in the past articles. So basically, I want to tell people who may not understand all this evidence. It's like, for example, if I am the plastic surgery doctor, and when I say someone has done the plastic surgery, for example, doubled eyelids, or they make the nose more straight, and I can do the analyze, and I can show you, hey, this double lid was done by Dr. A because Dr. A always do the surgery like this, and this is the way he always used, and this is the way he published in his article before to show this is his special part. So all like this. And what Chinese government's doing is they only can deny, they make attacks, and also they start to spread the misinformation. They cannot face to this evidence because they know this is a part they can never deny.
Okay, Dr. Yang, I still need to go back to your original answer, which is very crucial here. You said the first, it was intentionally leaked out of the Wuhan Institute. Is that what you say?
It's brought out because in such high safety level laboratory, I have worked in the BSL-3 lab, and we have also one BSL-4 level room inside that lab. And I can tell you that, for example, when you go into this kind of BSL-3 labs, you need to fully change your all clothes. And when you come out, you have shower, and also you change the clothes. And no animal, no virus can come out alive. Only human can come out alive. And there are very strict system and monitoring protocol to watch the biosafety. And also, once there were lab accident happened, no government will cover it up like what happened in Wuhan. For example, in 2004, there was some spillover happened in Taipei and in Singapore and even in Beijing using SARS-1 virus. However, it was easy to be contained because the procedure is mature and the response is quickly. And also, I can tell you that I had the intelligence at the end of December 2019 that showed in Wuhan virus institution, there was no people get infected, and it was functional well at that time.
Yeah, actually, I think previously we have audience was asking how to explain the seeing that it was like viral on the Chinese social media that people just one after another, they just died on the street. They fell on the street because of the COVID-19. What do you know about that?
Oh, I know some of that. Although I was not in mainland China at that time, but I have my very special and very big network through the hospitals and laboratories, and even to the China CDC headquarters office. So based on all those kind of information I collected at the early of the outbreak in China, there are some people suddenly die in the street. It is most probably because of the stroke kind of lack of oxygen, because this kind of SARS-CoV-2, when they make people infected, it can make you have a heart inflammation. And also, when you have the pneumonia, you also have the lack of the oxygen. And this kind of virus, especially in the beginning, because the government cover up the real situation, and local people in Wuhan, especially in Wuhan, they cannot get diagnosed and also treatment. So that's why their treatment was delayed. And the people, also the S protein actually can attack the blood vessels. It can make the blood clots. all these kind of reasons can be the reason that people suddenly fall down in the street.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I still have to go back to the very original question because I didn't catch that very clearly. So what I heard from you, Dr. Yan, is this is intentionally developed, and how did it get out of the institution? Is it intentional or by just a leakage, unintentional leakage?
They bring it out of the lab and put it into the real environment because the military scientists want to do some trial. This is actually according to their strategies of this coronavirus-based novel bioweapon. And you can check it back to the 2015, the People's Liberation Army's document written by the bioweapon general Xu Dezhong. They have clearly mentioned that if you want to optimize the weaponized virus, you have to do the trial in an environment which was 100% identical to the enemy's, the targeting areas. Okay. And if you check what happened in Wuhan from even end of 2018 to 2019, you will see that there were so many times of the military drills combined with the local government, local hospital to do the preparation for the emerging infectious disease happened during the military games in October of 2019. And especially they focus on the novel coronavirus happened in Wuhan at the end of 2019.
I see.
So these are all not coincidence.
Okay, so Dr. Yan, what you are saying is it's intentional developed, it's intentional brought into the real world for experiment, but they underestimated, they went out of control. That's basically what you are telling us, right?
Yes, because if you want to do the trial, for example, if we are doing some trial in the labs, we may try for example, we try the drugs or we try the vaccines and we use animal, right? We give them infection and then we check whether these animals already get protected because of the vaccine or they can get treated using the drugs. However, if you do it in a real environment using human, and if you underestimate the high transmissibility, which is like SARS-CoV-2, it's never happened before in the coronavirus. So, I mean, you can imagine what will happen if it's out of control. And actually, People's Liberation Army really underestimate the high transmissibility because they used the wrong animal model. And my team had published the right animal model half year after the outbreak on Nature.
Okay, so you answered my next question already. Okay, but still I want to ask you just to confirm. So, so basically, oh gosh, it flew through.
Okay, yeah, maybe it will come back to you. Just wonder, do you have any thoughts on why then they put the blame on the Huanan, the wet market, the seafood market?
Because from the beginning, as I said, this is unrestricted bioweapon. And the most important part is they want the world believe this virus came from nature. And then no one would realize this is the biowarfare launched by Chinese Communist Party. Mm-hmm. So that's why they made something in the virus. They changed some part of the amino acid without function change. However, it can cover up the evidence that they made it in the lab. And also, they prepared a lot of fake data, especially from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Bat woman Shi Zhengli, they had prepared the fake virus ancestor. The RATG13 virus come from Yunnan Mojiang. That was non-existent fake virus. Yes, and then they want people to believe that this virus actually come from nature, and then there was a similar virus happen in the nature, make this one evolved. All these kind of lies. However, at that time, in the middle of January 2020, I reviewed their lies through the media. So that's why they have to throw out these lies in a hurry, and which makes them leave some evidence for people to trace later on to see their problems.
And then later they are claiming, it's actually maybe originated by the United States military when they attended the sports events, right? And recently they are talking about it might be transmitted in the first place by the lobsters from the United States, as some of the Chinese social media showing. So, yeah, how do you think of that?
Yeah, actually Chinese government, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the diplomats, they start to claim that the virus can be imported to China through the cold supply chain. For example, the salmon, or for example, the Maine lobsters. And this is very hilarious. However, Chinese Communist Party and the military, they won't make up such excuses. And they even establish such fake scientific evidence and theory using the medical journals. They have published several articles about this. Although it is really hilarious, but they won't control this part. And once they can convince people, like for example, they have their misinformation campaign with those scientists. Once they can use such campaign and also mainstream media to convince people that maybe it's possible that virus can come from the cold chain, the next step is China can try to do more tactics focused on the food supply chain. And for example, they can blame the other countries to deliver the different virus or other pathogens using the food supply chain. And once they can make it into a big problem internationally, this can damage that food supply chain. And in their documents, Chinese government has already approved that the focus of the bioweapon should be one side on the human disease, another side on the food supply chain. So this is a whole set of their tactics.
It's not really just only hilarious. You mean they actually have a plan?
Yes, and they are working according to the plan.
Why? This is a very no-brainer question. I still want to ask you. And why didn't the Chinese government allow WHO or CDC, any outsiders, to go and just check out that Wuhan Institute of Virology?
Yeah, good question. So China, it's like the killer. The killer definitely doesn't want detectives go to check the evidence left. And China knows they have used so much misinformation, and none of the lie can be perfect. Definitely there is evidence. And for example, I have already reviewed quite a lot of evidence in public, and there are other scientists working from other side to review Chinese government's lies. So although Chinese government knows that the WHO is corrupted, but still they cannot fully trust the foreigners. And also they worry that some other people who are not corrupted by Chinese Communist Party would go into China with these scientists. So that's why you see China allowed the first team from WHO went to Wuhan this March. However, they have used the military to surveillance all these scientists, and they selected all these scientists by themselves. And the China party was leading by a General Tong Yigang, and also the final report was written by China team. And still, those scientists are not allowed to work freely in China because China really hide too much, and they are worried about any evidence released out.
Okay. I'm going to bring my next question to the U.S. side, but Kathy,
sure.
Okay, so you deal with Dr. Yan, you deal with the Trump administration, you deal with the Biden administration. How open are they in terms of hearing your story? What's their response?
I talked to many people in DC or out of DC, including the staffs from the State of Department, FBI, of course, and also from other intelligence department, from the Congress, and also senator and senators' teams. What I want to say is, actually, no matter what government they are working on, those people I met, most of them already aware of the problem in the COVID pandemic. However, they don't really understand the evilness of Chinese Communist Party in the beginning, or because their lack of this kind of analysis of medical intelligence from China. So it makes them kind of confused, especially when they facing to those scientific misinformation, because most of them are not the virologists and they haven't worked with coronavirus. So when those kind of scientific misinformation come out from those leading scientists, the leading people who worked on the coronavirus, it took them time to understand what happened. And it's easy for them to get cheated. And what I have done is, one hand, I have to explain to them like the military civil fusion project in China and how they works, how evil these strategies are. And also on the other hand, I use my expertise, my knowledge to explain to them those genetic evidence and other evidence which show that the misinformation campaign was wrong and this virus came out from lab.
Did they believe you? Did they believe you? Did they believe you?
Yes. The thing is, for example, when I talk to the Heritage Foundation and they would publish the exclusive report, and when the Facebook try to censorship it, even label it as misinformation, even the president of Heritage Foundation fight against them. And finally, Facebook has to remove this label as misinformation. And also, actually, I know there are many people behind when they receive such evidence, they are working on to push the world understand what happened. It took time. The legislators need to fully understand it and fix the problems in the law. And also intelligence people need to do the more investigation and to confirm all what happened. And also military people have their own way to handle it. But what I can tell you is the progress really went well. That's why you see even mainstream media now start to talk about the bioweapon and the China risk.
Okay. And you mentioned something that really I would concur, because to Americans, hear the show, that the viewers now, 95%, they are just American. They don't understand China, they don't understand CCP enough. So they are disbelieved of how far the CCP could go. It's become a barrier of understanding. In your view, how far could CCP go in terms of bioweapon?
They are working on more powerful novel bioweapons, these unrestricted bioweapons. They have already spent a huge amount of money, put huge amount of labor force into this project, and they celebrate the trophy last year. And Xi Jinping, the chairman in China, has given the top awards to those military and civil scientists who did a lot of contribution in development of this SARS-CoV-2 virus. So all these things actually make China Communist Party very confident, because they want to achieve the world dominance. Not joke. China knows that they cannot compete with America in the real weapon, real military force level. However, they know once they use such cunning way, it will kill your time, and you even haven't understand what happened. And China actually now put more energy, more efforts. For example, they start to build more virology labs on the One Belt, One Road countries. They try to deliver such technology to other countries to better conduct this kind of bio attacks. And also, they still give money to the scientists to search the novel virus from the nature and encourage them to study it, to make it weaponized. Also, they have other things focused on. For example, American government posed a sanction to military medical science, and it clearly mentioned in the statement that China is developing the brain control weapons. These are all the very terrible things, and you should not trust this Chinese communist regime at all. They just want to enslave all of you and make you cannot fight against them finally.
In terms of the role of the American Medical Institute, like NIH or the National Institute for Energy and Infectious Disease, they give grant, and the grant somehow leading to the Wuhan Institute. Were Americans intentionally, unintentionally, involved in this gain-of-function research, to your knowledge?
It's more like that in America, because it's not a centralized country. So you have to do something under the surveillance. That's why gain-of-function studies was not allowed in America. And yes, there were some controversial studies. However, they cannot they put all this kind of result from the gain-function studies into a virus, make it weaponized, like what Chinese government has done to the SARS-CoV-2. However, in China, because this is a nation, the big, powerful nation, so it can give enough space for the people to do such development, and it encourages people to do it. People do this kind of experiment in China was legal. So that's why they can use all this knowledge from America. They even can bring those American scientists to China to teach those Chinese scientists the technologies. And then they just do some trials and put them together like you playing the Lego. You can image that it's like in America, they study different pieces of Lego, but they cannot put them together. However, when you go to China, they can put all these pieces together, make it become a dangerous virus to work as an unrestricted bioweapon.
Wow. Among all the people who interview you, okay, what are the big media that you have talked to, or did they give you airtime?
I think I have so many people interviewed me. For example, I've been to Tucker Carlson several times, and even later on 1 hour exclusive report. And also Newsweek has published several articles with interview about me. And also it's like the Sun in UK, they had exclusive report which spanned them 3 months. Daily Mail in UK, ITV in UK, and also like Newsmax, OANN, American, also some other media like John Batchelor Radio, and also other radio networks, American Report, America Out Loud. So many. I think I cannot list all of them. Okay. But I can see the rich millions, so many millions of the readers.
The reason why I ask this question, folks, is because Dr. Yan should be on the news program of every major media, and she already enumerated them. Then you know who did not give her airtime, which is a big question by itself. Kathy, any further question?
Oh yeah, I just wonder, Dr. Yan, you've been through how your voice was restricted in Hong Kong while in the first place, right, when the pandemic just started, and then now in the United States, your interview with the Daily Signal the Heritage Foundation was banned by Facebook, and so when going through all those things, what does that make you feel?
Oh, I still feel that we have hope in America. You see, what happened in Hong Kong, the standard news get already broke down by the Chinese Communist Party within one night recently, right? Mm-hmm. They arrested the board members, and also they chased all the people away. They delete all this kind of recorded online. They shut down their social media. all these things without any question. However, when we start to tell things in America, although there is still censorship, there were a lot of attacks from the pro-Chinese Communist Party campaign, but still we can do something. For example, Facebook labeled Tucker Carlson's interview about me as misinformation. However, after several months, they removed it quietly. And also, they tried to label my recent exclusive report from the Daily Signal as misinformation. But as I said, after the fighting, they have to remove it, and they let the report still alive on Facebook. So that's the different things. We see also communism and also this kind of infiltration has been into America. We see the misinformation combined with censorship, propaganda actually very powerful. But we know that if we don't stop, we keep fighting, we still have hope. And the hope actually is based on the Americans, those brave Americans, those patriots. And because of the system, because of democracy and also freedom still alive in America under the protection of the American constitutions, we still can do something. And once we all work together, we will finally beat the communist China.
Of how to help Americans, including our governments and in different institutions, to realize how far the CCP can go in terms of they trying to control America, including the whole world. So what would be your suggestions, maybe, from 1 to 3 main suggestions to American people, how to identify that, what to do?
I would tell American people that actually you just need 2 things. One is your courage. The other is evidence. I and also other brave people like the scientists and doctors in the Global COVID Summit, we can provide you the evidence that you can use it to refute the misinformation from those propaganda campaigns, and you can use it to help people understand what happened. You just need to show your courage. Because once you are courageous and they can do nothing to you, you are under the protection of American Constitution. So I want to tell people that wake up. Don't give more time and more opportunity to the communist China or any other communist regime or any other regime based on the communism, Marxism ideology. They are lying, they are evil, they just want to enslave you finally. They won't stop. Don't expect they will change. Just stand up and fight against it for your future, for your kids' future.
Okay. Dr. Yan, I want to ask you a personal question, okay? So you've been on the run basically for 20 months, all right? So you gave up everything you have as a, it's, in Chinese, we all understand it's a very good, prestigious research center in Hong Kong University. You're on a run and you gave up a lot. Why did you do it?
The reason is so simple because when I get involved into this confidential investigation of Wuhan virus outbreak since the end of December 2019 on behalf of this WHO reference lab, the information intelligence I collected combined with my expertise, when I realized that it was from the military lab, and also when I say what happened between WHO and the Chinese government is corruption, I know that it's urgent. And I'm the medical doctor, and also I'm the virologist. I know how dangerous, how urgent it will be. So I cannot wait. If I don't do that, if I don't find some way to deliver these messages out, I will be regretful in my life.
Wow. Yes. So basically it's a decision of your conscience. As simple as that.
Yes.
How do you see the sacrifice that you have to, put through?
What I want to say is like,
What they are trying
totally-
to do to you?
Yeah. Did you? What CCP has done to you? Did they try to stop you or any?
Yeah, what did they do?
Yeah.
There are so many things they have done to me. For example, they try to disappear me. They try to
Meaning?
even use my husband to disappear me. Even before I leave Hong Kong, so I was lucky. They didn't. They failed. And then when I came to America, they tried so many ways to stop me and stop me to go to the public. They also tried to disappear me in America. For example, they sent my husband came from Hong Kong to America to conduct the fox hunting, which you can refer to the FBI's investigation. That fox hunting basically means Chinese government using a target they want arrested, using this target's family member or the acquaintance to hunt them, like hunting the fox, and make them disappear from America. And also, Chinese government has launched so many thousands of cyber military accounts to attack me and also my lab origin theory all over the social medias. More than 7 languages. This was actually analyzed by some intelligence department related company. They have published a report recently. And also they have kind of kidnapped my family because my family were in China. So the government controlled them, brainwashed them, and threat them, gave them all this kind of trouble, torture them, try to bring me back to China. All these things. So I live actually in the live streets all over the time. Even people try to work with me, even they are Americans, they told me they get the live threats because they get contact with me. So this is actually, I cannot using the simple words to describe how many things they have done to me, but what I want to tell people is I'm still alive. So you see, as strong as the Chinese government, they still can do nothing to me. I'm just a single woman, right? So don't be scared. This is a paper tiger.
Yeah, I think for a lot of our fellow Americans, they never lived under a socialist communist regime, and when they just start to feel, the ultra left, what they are trying to do, and some of them just get chilled. And so I think what you just shared is probably will be inspiring to them.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and maybe almost 1 hour, but I do see Louis just asked this question. He really wants to know, Dr. Yan, what do you think of the Omicron? Will it lead to herd immunity, and if it is a countermeasure in this bio warfare?
I won't say it's a countermeasure, and I think it's right to talk about herd immunity, because from the beginning, as I told through Otis Media back to 19th January 2020, I told people that this virus, if you don't control it at that time, you will face to pandemic and also numerous of those kind of variants. It was decided by the nature of coronavirus, and also because during the development of this unrestricted bioweapon, Chinese government definitely would try to reduce some factor which limited the variation of this virus. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Chinese government want this virus can make more variant during the circulation, and they can try to do something during the development. And also, when we say this kind of Omicron, I want to say that first, the Omicron come out in a very strange way. If you check the family tree of this virus, basically it doesn't look like the alpha, beta, or the others. It's like come out from the other side of this family tree, which means during all this strict observation all over the world in the pandemic, you didn't see the mutant from this virus little by little accumulated. you suddenly see over 30 mutate sites happened in the S protein, the spike protein of the Omicron. And if you check this mutation, you will see that this mutation somehow, many of them have been identified have the immune escape function, which means it can luckily help the virus get escape from your antibodies, and also it may help the virus combine with your body better, all like this. So you cannot explain it as it's also come out from just several patients, even this is HIV patients, or even this is vaccinated patients. I don't want to say much about this because we need more evidence. However, I think people should think about the possibility that this virus come out from nature, or this virus, Omicron, actually was purposely also changed in the labs to get avoid of the immune protection. So in this case, if you see that, and if you think even if you get the Omicron infection, you have the natural immunity, you still need to think about whether later on there will be another Omicron which can escape the immune protection from your immunity already exists. And then you should think about when will this kind of variant end. So who will decide the end of these variants?
Yeah, but exactly. Wow. That's my question. Looking forward, looking ahead, it seems like there's no much control, right?
Yeah. So I think it's definitely not the control. However, we do have the drugs, as we always advocate through the COVID summits, that if you can properly using the drugs and also at the right time, this can be the very efficient way to control this kind of pandemic and protect you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been over 1 hour. Really appreciate Dr. Yan coming to our show. Our audience obviously appreciates a lot. A lot of the questions we don't have time to ask this time, but I'm sure we would have a future opportunity, hopefully, to have you on again, Dr. Yan.
And okay, so for those folks, please click like and please do us a favor. Okay, we did not expect that at the end of 2021 we're doing this. Actually, this is a very, very revealing and a big interview, and it's for small channel like us. This should be done by the major media, but we know that what they are doing these days. But let's play that role. Let's share this show, okay, with as many people as you can find. And I think what is shared today is very eye-opening, and to many people it's probably beyond belief. But let's just be open and then spread this show and get people to think it over. Mm-hmm. And last word, I just want to say, Jack said earlier, he said, Dr. Yan is the hero who saved mankind. I just want to pass that on to you, and also with my respect to the courage that you have taken, Dr. Yan.
Thank you, Wei. Thank you, Kathy, and thank all this audience. And I think we definitely will win, and actually we are winning. So let's just work together, pass evidence to people around us, let them thinking by themselves, using their logic thinking and common sense. I know people will finally understand what happened by themselves.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you again, and have a very happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Dr. Yan.
New Year.
Okay, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
And it's great to have Dr. Yan with us. And I think everybody, go away when they're learning a lot about this very, very brutal and truth about the world that we're living in.
Yeah, and the truth is power, right?
Yeah.
And the truth will set us free and will get us off to a better New Year.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yan, again. And
all right, good night.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy
Bye-bye.
New Year.
See you 2022.